Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Excited to have everyone here as you're jumping in. Randy, welcome. And if you're having an issue with the video, let me give you a hand here. You should be good to go now.
I'm good. It just 1 second.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone. Hey, Randy, how are you?
Oh.
Great to see you. Long time no talk. You can't get away from me, Randy.
It's not awful.
I know, right? I always say that to people. It's not awful, but welcome everyone to today's webinar. I'm Liz Fairclough, co-founder of the Investor Community. I'm joined by two amazing women who I've had the pleasure of getting to know and partnering with on many different fronts, Zoe Chen and Randy Ballen. And we're going to be talking about really important stuff today when it comes to the maximizing your from a bookkeeping perspective, from a banking perspective. We work so hard to buy that property, to buy that next property, but are we doing with ease and saving ourselves time and energy, especially on the banking side, right, and bookkeeping side? Not always. So we're going to jump into all that in a moment, but I'm just so excited that you're both here. I think a lot of both of you. We work with Relay. We work with you, Randy, on many fronts. So just thank you so much for being here.
We love to be here.
Awesome. So here's what I'm going to do, everyone. And before I jump into a few key slides, just to orient toward everyone about what we're up to here with InvestHer and the resources available to you, I would love for you to put in the chat box here what you where you are, your name, where you're coming in from, what you want to get out of our time together. Something that we hold really true to everything we do at the InvestHer community is that we make your time well spent. And the only way to get your time well spent is actually be very intentional with it. Meaning, what's the one nugget? And now mean the world to me if I can get this one thing out of this webinar. I want you to start thinking about that when you're going into a meeting, when you're going into a webinar, something educational. That's how you get your time back. That's how you make your time well spent, is that you go in very, very clear on your intentions. So I would encourage you to do that. Hey, Roberta, one of our Strive members. Good to have you on here. Tina from Asheville. One of my favorite places is Asheville. But please share where you're the best, Tiffany. InvestHer is the best group of women. Thank you so much. You're a doll. Hey, Jennifer from Dallas. Good to have you here. And just keep sharing where you're from. I think one of the beautiful things about this community and what we do is that it is a community, and we really are committed to creating that safe space for women. So thanks so much for everyone being here. And if you're new, this is literally the first thing you've ever done through InvestHer, and you're like, I don't even know who InvestHer is, but I was interested about this topic. Please put new in the chat box. I really want to give you a special welcome. Hey, Gigi, hopefully I said your name correctly. Awesome. Let me see here. Other people that are new. Very nice. Thanks for being here, Vanita. Beautiful name. All right. Good stuff. Let's get rocking and rolling, and then we can get to our wonderful presentation here. Just a little bit about us here. We have a Facebook group community, which you probably have seen or you're a part of, but that is really a great place, just a free place, free, environment for you to ask questions, to support other people. We really want to have that safe space for you. And we're growing, almost at 16,000 people in that community. And that's an important place to get engaged in. We also have meetups. If you're not familiar, we have local meetups throughout the country. We also have a few in Canada. So that's meant to be that local group of women. Our meetup leaders are women who have real estate properties. They're growing their investment portfolios. So you're in really good hands there, and get connected locally. If you don't have one, we're open to you starting one. We're really going to be taking our meetups to a whole nother level very, very soon. So we also have this EXP team we're very proud of, InvestHer.org. And this is really for real estate agents to come on board. Obviously, agent is your primary business, but these are women who also want to grow their investments. So they're women real estate agents who also want to grow their investments. And we have a team led by Ginny Atkins, who is also very involved in our community. Free webinars, are oriented towards that. That's what these are. If you have topics or suggestions, we really are committed to putting content out and having the right experts that serve you. We're not here to just listen to ourselves talk and then, we all move on with our day. We're here to create value and that you move the needle on your path on financial freedom. That's what we stand for every single woman. So in order to do that, we'd love some suggestions if you have any. If you've been living under a rock, we have our Investor Con coming up June 2nd to 4th, Austin, Texas. It is going to be the event of the year. So I really would invite you all to come be there with us, where the agenda, all the speakers are going to be listed, very, very, very soon this month. Zoe, Randy, you guys will be there. Very excited about all of your support for our community. We have some amazing, amazing partners speaking. We have Sally Krawcheck from Elvest, co-founder of Elvest. She's very, very well respected in stock trading, but going to be really powerful conversation. Kim Kiyosaki is one of our keynotes coming back. So we really just have a stellar lineup of women speaking and sharing. So come be with us. And then lastly here, and then I'm going to give the floor to the team here. Most people in our community are asking always, what do you do for women who are growing their portfolios? They've done 5 to 10 deals. So we have a mentorship program. Andres and I had nothing else to do. So we put this mentorship program, now being funny. No, we did do this about 3 years ago. And we said, we want to create a mentorship program for women that are scaling their portfolios who are tired of doing it alone. And that's what it feels like, right? You're a solopreneur. So that's what we created. And you can apply today. Actually, this is where you would apply. And what's cool about it is that you can come to InvestorCon for free. If you apply and this is a good fit for you, we'll have our team reach out and have a strategic call, no strings attached. Very powerful group of women who have been helping us serve our community. And you can check that out if that serves you and you have a portfolio you're looking to scale. So with that, I'm excited to bring Randy and Zoe on here to talk a little bit more about, maximizing your gains. Isn't that important in this day and age? Is that we work hard. We work really hard to get that next property or the next deal, but how we protect it, how we really maximize it is quite honestly where you make or break your money. So I'm going to give the floor to the two of you. I'm going to come back on here after you're done. But, we want you all to be thinking about, how does this information help me in my business? And then number 2, really want to encourage you to ask questions in the Q&A box. That's why this is live. We're not recorded. This is not my stunt double. We're here live with you because we want the questions to come up so it helps you move the needle on your investing business. That's why we do these. So I can't, like I said, talk highly enough about Relay and Randy. They're the team from a banking and a bookkeeping perspective that you want on your team. So with that, I'll give you the floor and I'll come back in a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Liz, for such a wonderful introduction. Hi to everybody who's on the call today. It's such a pleasure to be here chatting with all you ladies today. My name is Zoe and I'm here with Randy, and we're going to run this webinar today on maximizing your gains and really 3 QuickBooks mistakes that Randy finds that a lot of people make, and we want you guys to be aware of them so you don't make these mistakes as well. So really quickly jumping in, I'm going to give the floor to Randy to introduce herself.
So thank you. I am, as mentioned, Randy Ballen. I've been a bookkeeping professional for over 15 years. I became an entrepreneur at 50, so I am a bit of a late bloomer. And now I'm what we refer to as a serial entrepreneur. So I do a lot of different things, but really at the heart of it is always helping other women rise up. I'm a big believer in the future being female, and I want to work with as many women as I can. So that is probably enough about me.
Yeah, I also want to just give a really quick background about Relay for those of you who don't know about us. So I'm currently based in Toronto. So hello, I saw a few Canadians in the audience there. But Relay is really an online business banking platform for US registered businesses. And so our presence, it's mainly in the States. But if you're a Canadian, you have a US registered entity, you can also use Relay. And so Relay, we were founded founded in 2018. Our co-founders have a long history of working specifically with small businesses and also in the accounting space. So improving the pain points that we saw a lot of accountants see when working with small businesses and trying to help them and also their clients get more clarity into their finances. So Relay is fully virtual. We are online only, no physical branches, but you can always be in touch with us online through our support team. We're partnered with Thread Bank in the US. So it's through Thread Bank that we have all the FDIC insurance on everyone's deposits. And a lot of folks know about Relay either from Profit First, which is a cash flow methodology that a lot of folks use. And also we have a lot of real estate investors who use Relay as well. And really, they tell us that, some of the benefits of using Relay for your real estate business is because we offer multiple accounts. So you can use that to really get clarity if you have multiple properties. There's no account fees, no minimums. Because we're fully online, a lot of real estate investors, as they start investing in portfolios, they have partners, other business partners. So oftentimes when you go to a bank to sign up for a new bank account for a new property, you all have to be there in person. But since we're all fully virtual, you don't have to do that. You can kind of all sign up yourself online within 10 minutes. That, and then along with a bunch of other reasons that we can get into later, but just a little quick intro on Relay. So for the agenda today, here we want to provide education today. So we're going to go through 3 mistakes that we see a lot of real estate owners make with QuickBooks Online. So the first is, are you paying too much for your QuickBooks plan? We're going to go over that. We're also going to go over reoccurring invoices in QuickBooks Online and how to utilize that to get the cash flow clarity within your business. And then lastly, we're also going to talk about the benefits of connecting your bank feed into QuickBooks Online and why not all bank feeds are made the same. We also have a little Relay offer for those folks who want to check us out as well. And then we're going to save some time for Q&A as well. So before we dive into the details of the content, we do want to get to know the audience a little bit more. So Randy and I would love to know how long you guys have been in real estate investing, and also what's your favorite real estate investing strategy? Are you in short-term rentals, long-term rentals? What are you guys into? Please let us know in the chat. And I don't have the chat pulled up. Oh, I'm going to pull it up and read out some answers. Cool. I see some new folks here. Some people saying STR, long-term rental as well with new construction. That's so great. Thanks everybody for sharing. We have long-term rental and flips as well. A lot of long-term rentals. Also some BRRRRs as well. So we have a good mix of different types of real estate investors in the audience, which is always really great to see. Now, we do have another question for you guys. We also would love to learn, are you guys currently working with an accountant or bookkeeper? Some of the tips that we're offering today, our suggestions might vary depending on if you are working with an accountant or bookkeeper or if you're doing it yourself. So we would love to get this insight as we kind of walk through the presentation today. Roberta says she's looking for a CPA. Oh, and we have some bookkeepers in the audience as well. Cara is a bookkeeper. A lot of ladies saying currently working with a bookkeeper or a CPA. Edith met one online. That's great. Claire is also a CPA herself. Some folks don't have bookkeepers and some ladies do have bookkeepers. So we have a mix in the audience today, which is great. And Jennifer says she uses QuickBooks Online, but then she does TurboTax as well. Okay, cool. So we have a mix of folks in the audience. Awesome. So I'm going to throw it over to you now, Randy, for the bulk of the content and the tips and the insights. So I'm going to throw it over to you.
Thank you. So mistake number 1 is of course paying too much for your QuickBooks Online subscription. So there's a lot of different ways to set up your QuickBooks Online or any software account. And a lot of it depends on your personal portfolio and what strategies you're using. So if you are strictly wholesaling, your account is going to be a lot more simple than if you, let's say, do short-term rentals. Those are 2 kind of opposite ends of the spectrum with a lot of things in between. So there are actually only 24 accounts that are needed for tax deductions, and your books are partially for filing your taxes. They're partially for your CPA to be able to go in and clearly see what's gone on and file your taxes. But 24 accounts, generally, that's not what you need in your personal set of books. You're gonna, two investors are gonna be different, are interested in totally different data points, and your software should be, in my opinion, customized to you. It definitely has to be customized to whatever strategy you're pursuing. And some bookkeepers like to keep more of a set chart of accounts. We have a different take on it, but definitely any bookkeeper will tell you, depending on your strategy, that's what accounts are going to need to be set up. And how you set up your chart of accounts could be the difference between $30 a month and $200 a month. So that's a difference of over $2,000 a year just for the subscription. If you put the next slide, that will give you an idea. These are the different subscriptions. And actually, if you were to pull this up yourself, you'll see they usually offer like 50% off, but that's only for 3 months. And when you look at it quickly, you might not notice that it's only for 3 months. And so you can jump, like in advance, you can jump from $100 to $200 in the 4th month and be surprised. In general, a lot of the confusion about the subscriptions are by talking to QuickBooks, who is selling software. So we see a lot of people kind of in a plan that does far more than what they need it to. And so you're paying for that. Okay, the next slide. Thank you. So what is the chart of accounts and why does it matter? The chart of accounts, or COA, as I will sometimes refer to it, is it's the architecture of your books. It's the heart of your accounting file. And so it is made up of all the categories to which each transaction in your file will be classified. So for example, you can have a very simple categorization like auto expenses, or you can have a very detailed chart of accounts where you have auto expense maybe as a main category, and subcategories could be mileage reimbursement, fuel, repair and maintenance, insurance, parking, violations, software, any of these things. And so depending, if you are just a solopreneur, then auto expenses should be more than enough for you. But if you, let's say, do flips, you do a lot of flips, and you own 2 or 3 trucks, you're going to want much more detail under auto expense to be able to see how profitable you are being and where you can potentially save money. So again, the IRS dictates that you have to keep books for your business. That's the 24 categories I referred to earlier, where you can get tax deductions. But typically when we're looking at books, your chart of account is going to expand in the places that are meaningful to your specific business and to how you look at your business, what you want to see in your books. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is an example of what in my firm we refer to as a long skinny report, and we don't like them. So this is an example of a balance sheet, but the same is true for a profit and loss or income statement. You can't even see the whole report on one page. There's a lot of information coming at you. And I always feel like if there's too much information and it's on multiple pages, it's really hard to extract the information that you're trying to learn. So at our firm, we like to see a much more condensed report, and we utilize a lot of tools that QuickBooks has that lets you have a nice, concise set of reports, but you're able to drill down if you see an area that's an outlier. So it looks like there's a problem in one of the categories. We're going to drill down and see what that problem could be and what potential solutions could be. And so instead, what we do, one of the things we do is we use classes, which would require the Plus subscription or above. So with classes, if you own multiple properties in an entity, each property can be its own class. And in this way, we can make sure that not only your company as a whole is profitable, but that each property is profitable, because that's really what we want to be able to find out. Next. So we would like to know, what do you have a big rental nightmare story when it comes to collecting rent?
Yeah, please let us know in the chat if you guys have any stories around this. And Randy also has one, and so we'd love to share her story. And it leads into our next tip for this presentation as well. So we'll give everybody a couple moments to see if they have any stories that they'd like to share with us in terms of, like, did somebody miss rent for like 20 months in a row, something like that.
And all of you that are saying, no, that can't be. It absolutely can. So anyway, and part of this might be, you might want to check this when you get back home, because my story is, I had a client who, getting the money after eviction, yeah, absolutely. So my client had a CPA doing bookkeeping for tax purposes, really. And so they did it kind of like a quick and dirty way. My client, when I spoke to him, told me he knows that everybody pays their rent on time. All his renters pay on time. And he has a large number of rentals, but he felt confident. And when I looked at the books, I kept saying, something's not adding up, like something's not added up. And it is complicated because there's vacant lots and there's properties that were sold during the year and a whole bunch of stuff. But what ended up to be the result is the reason why it wasn't making sense is that he had two renters behind by years. So one of them owed over $60,000 and one owed over $30,000. One literally moved in and never paid rent again. And so that's why we find it's really important that you set up recurring transactions in your books where you have an invoice recorded. Now you might not, oh, and by the way, I see a note about Venmo and Zelle. Depending how you set it up, it may not be as big an issue as you think. Most things are a question of the setup. So, and making sure that you have the business version of those cash applications, because there is some problem if you're trying to do business out of a personal one and they find out. You don't want to be in that situation. So even if you don't send your renters an invoice, which most of our clients are not going to send their renters an actual invoice, but it's important that you keep the invoice in your books. And we use the recurring transactions tool in QuickBooks so that every month automatically till the end of the lease, that invoice is going to turn up. This allows us to know at a glance if people have paid their rent or not. And it's easier, the sooner you are aware that they've missed a payment, the sooner you can jump on it, the less likely you are to have the uglier situations.
Yeah, how much was it that your client was missing for that renter who wasn't paying?
Yeah, the big
Randy?
one was $66,000.
That is a lot of money.
That was only one of the two. The other one was over 30. So these are large amounts of money. And you know, the deposits were recorded, but if you're not comparing it to what you're expecting to see, when you have a lot of tenants and, you know, especially some of his people, their rent date was the 1st, some was the 15th. So he felt like there's always money coming in. So I always say, like, when you go by your gut, you have to be careful because your gut can be completely, totally wrong. The other thing that we see people do is pay late repeatedly. So if you pay, for example, every 6 weeks, every few months, you've got a free rent. So that's why it's important to keep track of these things. And if you see, the next slide is kind of an example of what you would get in recurring transactions. So you see the invoices for that rent. When it's scheduled, it means that every month on the date selected, that invoice is going to appear into that client's account. And so when you pull like an accounts receivable account, you're going to be able to see who didn't pay rent this month. And you can see if somebody didn't pay for longer, it actually breaks it down into 30-day increments so that you can see if somebody's 2 months behind, if they're 3 months behind, that would all be available to you. And also we use this in QuickBooks, we save the lease and we set up the recurring transactions for the duration of the lease. So when the lease ends, the transactions stop appearing, you know that you have to go ahead and renew that lease. And you can set it up to give you to come out earlier than the due date so that you can have time to address things. Also on here, you can see you can make your HOA fees or taxes and insurance recurring. So anything, especially these payments where it's every quarter or annually, it becomes difficult to know when exactly that's due. So even if you don't have the exact amounts, like we all know, insurance this year bears no resemblance to insurance last year, but at least if you put it in, you're going to see that that bill comes up. And when you look in your account, it's going to clue you in that, like, I should be paying my insurance. And again, you can have it show up, you know, 2 weeks earlier, 3 weeks earlier, whatever you want to be able to get yourself together and collect the funds. But especially things that are quarterly and annual are tricky expenses for people to keep track of. But the invoices, like I said, even if you're not going to ever show the person your invoice, and also you mentioned, somebody here mentioned about the eviction, Teresa did. So if you're going to go to court to file an eviction, you need to have an accurate recording of what rent was due, any late fees that were due, and all that information. And so you can have that at the click of a button if you've set your QuickBooks up this way.
Great. Randy, we have a question from Amy in the chat here. She's asking, if you're using Avail to collect rent, how does that affect the QuickBooks accounting?
So I am not sure about Avail specifically, but industry specific software in general, that's pretty good at this part of the equation of making sure that rent's collected and you're not missing rent. What it's not generally good at, and we're hoping that soon it will be, there's definitely some softwares moving in that direction to be able to provide full service accounting in the way that QuickBooks does. So for example, a lot of these third-party apps, you know, I've been at conferences when they have a booth and they're telling people they do full accounting, but then if I ask, do you have a balance sheet? They say no. Now, a balance sheet has all the assets you own, all the loans you owe. Can anybody see how this might be problematic for a real estate investor to not have this information? So we are hopeful. We keep trying to play around and find one, hopefully that will be robust enough to maybe one day replace QuickBooks. But if you're using it just for property management and tracking rents, it's usually pretty good. And if it's one, some of them automatically, they sync with QuickBooks and that information comes right into the software. Other times we have to go in and print a report and then import that information into QuickBooks when you're using third-party software. as a bookkeeper. As a bookkeeper, that's not a big deal. We do that all the time. We use it for banks that don't play nice with QuickBooks. There's plenty of things that don't connect, but there's almost always a way around it. How time consuming that is another issue. For things like short-term rentals, those are very time consuming. For things like long-term rentals, that's really not time consuming and not a big deal to get it into the books and be able to get your financial information there, but your property information from the other software. But I know especially when people are starting out with buy and holds, you don't have that big, huge check from selling the flip or the wholesale. And so money could still be an issue. And maybe you don't want to have two softwares yet. I would say use QuickBooks before the third party. And then as you grow, you can add in a third party app that's going to help you track the property management part.
Awesome. That's really great insight. I love when you're talking about the bank feed stuff, because that kind of ties into the next kind of like tip that we have. Let's talk about not connecting your bank feed to QuickBooks Online and why this could be a potential mistake.
Yeah, so that would be mistake number 3. And though we hear this a lot less frequently than we did before COVID. Before COVID, this was a huge thing. People didn't want to hook up their banking in QuickBooks. They felt that they were at risk. And what I would say is, number 1, QuickBooks has bank level security. So it is as safe a platform as you can have. Also, even if you don't do online banking, your bank does online banking. So your information is online these days. I don't know that there's any way to get around that unless you're fully living off grid. So there is no reason not to connect the bank accounts. It's super helpful. Sometimes third-party apps or different credit card processors, especially as bookkeepers, we might find it not as helpful to have the connection. But banks, I've never had a bank that I wouldn't prefer to have it automated. Except for some of them don't stay connected. So that can be challenging, but it's more time consuming for you if you're doing it yourself or your bookkeeper to manually enter every transaction instead of just working with the bank feed. And the bank feed helps ensure accuracy. You're not at risk of transposing a number because the numbers are already in there from the bank. What I would say is you also have to be careful in the QuickBooks feed that you're not willy-nilly accepting everything. And there's still going to be situations where we want to manually enter a transaction, but they're a lot less, and it makes the time a lot shorter that you have to spend on your books. And also attaching documentation is very important, and that's easy to do from the bank feed portion of QuickBooks. So, and we have, this is an example of how the difference in the bank that you're using. So the top example, that's how we get a lot of information. I have banks where it will literally just say deposit and a number, or it'll say check and the amount of the check, but not the check number. So it's, for accuracy, that's more of a challenge. It usually involves more legwork, more detective work to find out what those things actually are, versus Relay at the bottom. They're giving you much better information, and their information, when they're saying the type of thing it is more accurate. In QuickBooks, when it tells you that, it's typically just taking the last thing that you did. So if you wrote me a check, the last check you wrote was to me, if anybody still writes checks. I know it's limited, but if the last check you wrote was to me, then QuickBooks is going to guess that every other check you write is also to me until you change it to the next person, and then it's going to make that same guess. So this is actually trying to get the information like what we do, going to Google and looking up and finding out what type of business is this. So it saves a lot of time that otherwise is spent on the Googles.
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing that's the main difference with a lot of banks and their connection to QuickBooks Online is it's not direct. So with Relay, we know this is a big challenge for bookkeepers. Like when you get the information, like this first example here, a bookkeeper has to spend a lot of time, like, messaging the business owner, asking, what this transaction was, if they even remember what it was. And so when you have this first example of a transaction type, a lot of the times it's just because the bank is connecting to QuickBooks Online via another connector in the middle. So there's like a middleman in there. Whereas, so in order to solve the problem at Relay, when we have our connections into QuickBooks Online, it's a direct feed connection. We work with QuickBooks directly to pipe that information in. And so because of that, we're able to provide more information like what is Stutter Shopton? It's a parking garage. So this is probably a parking fee, some sort of travel related fee. And so we're able to provide more of that insight. It just helps the bookkeeper. And if you're doing the books online, it helps you have a better idea of like where this transaction is coming from. So as you're reconciling that in your books, it's just a couple less steps in between to kind of help you as a business owner save time.
And I do want to say a lot of times, like we want to use credit unions and local banks. And unfortunately, a lot of times we have a lot of those banks where either we can't get access at all, it doesn't connect at all, or worse than that, you have to reconnect it sometimes on a daily basis. Like Navy Federal, pretty much every day you have to go in and reconnect the account. So it's really a problematic even when you have a bookkeeper. In some banks, the bookkeeper is able to do the reconnection, and other banks, only the account owner can. So that means like we have to call our client every day that we're in the books to reconnect the bank to the feed. So definitely at Relay, that's a million times easier, and we can pop into the bank and look at the documentation, look at a check that was written, or look at a deposit that was put in, and it makes our jobs a lot easier. And if you're doing your own bookkeeping, it's definitely a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. And when you're reconnecting those bank feeds, Randy, the ones that constantly get reconnected every single time, like, do you have your own separate login to do this, or like how easy is it to kind of continually do that?
Depends. Like I said, some banks absolutely won't let you. So when I say we have access to your bank, that's the other thing. All we need as bookkeepers is read-only access. I shouldn't be able to move your money or touch your money. All I should be able to do is have read-only access. And with Relay as the account owner, you can do that at the click of a button. You can add an accountant, or an accountant can add you, and then you can pick the type of user access that you want the bookkeeper to have. Because even if a bookkeeper is paying bills for you as an add-on service, there's third-party apps that we do that through. So again, we don't ever touch your money. And that's very important to make sure that for protection, for security reasons, that there's no need for anyone to have full access, except for rare occasions. So you definitely want to work with a bank that has that as an option.
Awesome. We do want to give this offer to folks. If you are looking for a new bank, or if you're a new real estate investor and you haven't really set up a bank account for your business yet, for the folks who are on this webinar today, if you want to check out Relay, we'll have a special offer for the folks on this webinar. There's a couple of features that we've built in to make it easier for real estate investors to manage their finances with their teams, their accountants and bookkeepers on Relay. And just the data quality is another piece of it that really makes your life easier. I know Randy has a lot of clients on Relay, and Liz, your team also uses Relay as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to share a couple of things, and everyone, if you can put that link in the chat box for everyone to kind of learn a little more and get connected to you guys. Yeah, we, Andres and I, we're really struggling with a couple of things from a community bank perspective. I think one of the greatest things that we've really enjoyed as we've worked with Relay, that I know so many real estate investors will appreciate, is real-time data. I feel like in so many ways, banking is so archaic in that there's a lag, right? It's not, even if you have an online account, there's still a little bit of a lag. And I love how quick and easy and simple working with Relay is. And you can delineate from with the accounts versus it's cumbersome. I don't know. I feel like it's an act of God with a community bank to get multiple accounts. It's like, whoa. And I feel like with Relay, that's what you stand upon, especially coming from a profit first perspective, being able to make, now more than ever, as investors and as business leaders, right, as entrepreneurs, we need to make decisions financially now, like today. And I feel like just working with you guys has really encouraged that. So, and gives you the framework and like the ease of doing that. So can't speak highly enough for you guys, and excited that you'll be at InvestorCon to be sharing more, and really just the ease of use, and Randy, all the good work you guys have done working with our team as well. But I really want to take some questions. And obviously coming from a educational perspective here, I can see one Q&A here. Oh, okay. You're on top of that one.
Correct.
Got
If
it.
you can't,
You got that one.
if you can't give access, whether it's to property management software or a bank or a credit card, then you as the client are going to have to be responsible for taking that statement and getting it to your bookkeeper every time. And so again, it can sometimes be a hold up, like you're busy. That's why you hired a bookkeeper in the first place, so that you don't have to be as involved in this process. And then if you're always the one that has to submit these documents every month, or go online and make the reconnection, it can definitely be tiresome. And also Relay, something for investors that I found helpful. Sometimes as investors, we have businesses in different states and different things. And a lot of times local banks are really scared about that and they don't understand. Whereas Relay, everything's online, it's virtual. They understand real estate investors specifically. They've gone out of their way to talk to us and learn about what things look like from our perspective. And so that's never a problem. There's no fees. You can create new accounts like for Profit First or for security deposits or whatever, just online. So I support them because I find them helpful personally.
Yeah. And I think that's so key, especially right now. I really want to encourage you to ask questions. You have here, Zoe, how many small businesses that you've worked with? Like hundreds and hundreds, correct? So you have
hundreds and hundreds, yes.
Hundreds and hundreds is a simple answer, probably, but you have a wealth of knowledge, in seeing what best practices are, not just because you're working at Relay, but literally you're working with all these different folks like us. So you have a wealth of knowledge. Randy is a bookkeeper, everyone, right? I mean, talk about the importance of these team members. Pick their brains. What is coming up for you in your business, in your rental property, that you want to pick someone's brain on and really get some support around. That's why we have these next 15 minutes to really give you that space. So ask for what you need. We need to do that more as women, as women investors. Ask for what you need, take some time, be selfish, and ask the questions you need to ask. So I just want to encourage that. I think we need to hear that more. And I'm going to tell you to do that. All right.
And
Andrea,
also, if you have the question, other people have that same question.
correct.
And they haven't spoken.
Correct. There's no stupid question. I know for so often I'll just not ask it because they're going to see my name and know I'm asking that,
Well, the other thing is with these presentations like these, like we have different types of business owners in the audience at different stages of their journey. So when Randy and I were putting together this presentation, we're like, how detailed do we go or how broad do we make it? So, if you are more experienced, you have a very specific question, ask away. Randy's would be really helpful in any of those questions that you have.
There's 3 questions. And I just want to say this lastly, my interactions with Relay, my interactions with Randy is that they are so supportive and so helpful, and they just want to serve and help get the answer to the, in the appropriate way. I feel like so many times in when I've worked with bookkeepers and with banks, that you feel like you're annoying them. I don't know how else to say it. I feel like I'm a nuisance, and I don't ever get that feeling, or the folks that are working with. So I just love that. But let's get to some questions. We've encouraged some questions. Let's get them answered. Andrea, you're asking, can you help build business credit for a new LLC? Who wants to take that? Meaning what? Like, can you help business? I'm wondering by having what?
There's a lot of programs that are out there to help you build business credit. You don't actually need to use that. And there's also a lot of free videos out there. It's also more and more places are going to make use of your personal credit, even though I know it's confusing because we tell you all day long, like, don't mix business and personal, but like Chase Bank, they're going to pull your personal credit to give you business credit. Once they pull it, they're not going to report it on your personal file. And so it does help you build business credit, even though you had to use your personal credit to get there. American Express is another one I think is fairly easy to get. But really, if your personal credit is not good, then what you want to do is start out with trade lines like Uline, right? Who's not gotten the Uline catalog in the mail with all that stuff? You're like, what's this for?
Yeah.
But places like that have where like a net 30 pay. So you order something and you pay in 30 days, and then they report that to the credit bureau that monitors business credit, different from personal credit. So those things help build your credit score for your business, and then you are able to get the bigger credit cards. So also things like sometimes, like Lowe's or Floor and Decor, you might be able to get those types of store credit cards before you can get, a bigger, like an American Express or a Visa.
I like that. How can you check on your business credit? Like, is there like a place like
Yeah,
that
so Dun and Bradstreet is where you want to go first, and you might already have a number because, again, just in the process of doing business, if you ordered from one of the places that reports your payments, I don't know if I've ever had to actually add it. I think by the time I've gone to look for it, it's already been there. But if not, if you don't have one, you can apply to get a number and you can start building it. I would definitely, there's lists online. I know I've looked them up before for like these trade lines that are easy to get that help build your credit.
Okay, that's great.
That's what I would start with.
Cool. I appreciate that. That's a really good point. Belinda. Hey, Belinda, one of our Strive members there. Can you please speak to how wires bank drafts work with Relay?
Cool. I can take this one. So with wires in Relay, when you receive any type of wire, there's no fee for that. And you can send outgoing domestic or international wires. We have a fee of $5 per domestic and $10 per international wire. But if you send a lot of them every month, you may want to look at something like Relay Pro, which is a $30 per month fee. And with that, you get same day ACH for free and all of your wire transfers for free as well. So depending on if you're a business that sends a lot of like, say, international wires or even domestic wires, that could be the better kind of like option to go with. And the point with like bank drafts, I don't believe I'm not sure about this one because I'm not on the support team. Randy, you might know because you have clients on Relay, but I don't know if we issue bank drafts or if you would have to reach out to our team to do that.
No,
Randy's shaking her head no.
Yeah, I think it's just wire ACH. Again, I don't work for Relay, so take that with a grain of salt. But I think it's just wires or the ACH. If you use it like we use it, like we pay ourselves out of the Relay account. So having the pro account where you can get paid and it like the same day is awesome.
Love
And
that.
wires, like I don't know how many of you know how much it costs to send wires. Like Chase charges $50, I think, or
Not
maybe,
cheap.
or TD Bank. One of those is like $50 a pop for domestic wire, and it doesn't matter if it's a small wire. So it's definitely, there's not better prices than Relay. It's as close to free as you can get, and I
Yeah.
personally just hate to pay a bank money that they use to make more money.
So there's something not right about that, but yeah.
Yeah, it
But,
definitely isn't.
yes. I love that. Appreciate that. So a couple more questions here. Should we be using class instead of location to get that long, skinny sheet you mentioned, correct? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so location is something that's a little bit deceiving in QuickBooks because since we're talking about property, instinctually it sounds like, oh, that would be a location. But the problem with location is when you use it, whatever the transaction you want to attribute to that location, it has to be the whole thing. So in other words, if you went to Home Depot and you bought some stuff for flip number one and some stuff for like your Airbnb, you can't split that location. If you use a class, you can use multiple classes in one transaction. So it's a line by line item. You can divide things up. So even if you bought whatever, you bought a bunch of flooring and you're going to use it in two different properties, you could actually just split that in half or whatever percentage. And then each part of it can go to the correct class. So classes are probably the most useful for most things in QuickBook. And you can also have subclasses. So if you have a multi-unit, you can have a class of the address and then the subclass of the units at that address. It also, there's tags, there's customers and sub-customers. There's so many different tools in QuickBooks, which is why I use QuickBooks Online. Just because at the moment it's the most robust and gives you the most tools to get it. So you can get that information without that long, skinny report that I think just makes it so difficult to really analyze the information. Whereas if you look at it and you go, oh, I'm interested in seeing more about this, there's plenty of ways to see all the detail. And again, you can focus just on that detail. So you can look at each property and have its own profit and loss sheet. And I think that that's a lot more helpful a lot of the time.
Yeah. And I think, Megan, it looked like there was so many bookkeepers in our group here today, which is, I love this community. But Megan, you're saying important to note that pros max at 40 classes. So use them wisely or upgrade to advanced or for the unlimited classes.
Yeah, Pro is desktop, so that's a whole different thing. And I don't really work on desktop anymore. But that is true of QuickBooks Online. The Plus is the version that has classes, but it only has up to 40. And then the advanced is the one with unlimited classes. But definitely a lot of times we have ways around it. And it might be for Pro too. I'm just not familiar with that to say what the number is for that.
Love that.
But yeah, for QuickBooks, that's true if you're going to have a bunch of classes. But if you think about it, for each property, there's probably about 10 related accounts, right? Like you want to separate your land from your building, you have your closing costs, you have your capital improvements, you have, you know, if it's a buy and hold, you're going to have like the carrying costs, you're going to have also the you know, the taxes and the stuff that you pay, which is a cost of goods. It's not like an overhead expense. So you can end up with quite easily. The Plus has 250 accounts for the chart of accounts. And so if you go over 250, then you're also back at advanced. And they will always try to get you to advanced. So I would just, if you can speak with a professional before you sign up for that is always good. This past week we had someone with 2 advanced QuickBooks subscription when they did not need even one. So that saved them
Love it.
hundreds of dollars every month.
Great insight on that. So here's a great question too, and I think this is helpful for so many of you here. What are some signs of a good bookkeeper or not so good one? And not all banks are created equal, not all bookkeepers are created equal, not all accountants are created equal. And we've had our share. I mean, I've had a share of different types of people working in our business over the years. So I'm curious to get your perspective, Randy, and I can share, and Zoe, if you want to share too, what do you think are some good signs? Because bookkeeper, if you don't have a bookkeeper, I just can't tell you how important that is to grow your portfolio, hands down. It's a key team member, in my opinion, and having the right banking is the next thing you like together. So Randy, what would you say? And then I'll share some thoughts.
So I would say the first thing is that you want to like gel with that person, right? If you don't feel comfortable with them, if you don't feel comfortable asking a question because you're going to be embarrassed, then that's not the person for you. If they explain something to you using big accountant words that mean nothing to you and you can't understand what they told you, then that is not the person for you. Like, you know, you have to find someone that you can communicate effectively with. I would say that's important for real estate and investing. I strongly urge people to use bookkeepers and tax professionals that are definitely experienced in real estate investing. It is not like everything else. You could have had a great CPA for the past 30 years and then you start investing and all of a sudden they don't really know what to do and you're going to be missing out on dollars of tax savings if you don't have the correct person. So
yeah, for us personally, we had worked with an accountant and said he was very familiar with real estate, but you know, saying you're familiar is a good way of
I've
saying you
seen
probably
that
have
one.
no clients that have real estate. I'm familiar. That's when you know red flag goes up. But anyway, started working with our now accountant, and he looked at our past tax returns. He goes, there was a bunch of mistakes. And he refiled our tax return for us, and we ended up getting back. Now we pay usually, right? We're not like, we're not W-2 where I'm getting money back. I'm usually like, how can I minimize how much money I have to pay? Right. That's usually my, legally, of course, my goal in life. But he said, we're going to be getting you back $10,000 because of X and because of Y, because of Z over the last like 3 years. It was like, what? So it makes a difference. I'll just tell you, because everything was so misfiled and misrepresented on our, and he was able to clean it up and file it properly. So it matters, everyone. And I think the other thing, I'll also say this too, and I don't know how you both feel, Zoe and Randy, but I think as we're busy women, we have a lot going on. I want somebody to lead me, meaning they know, okay, here's what other clients are doing to ease your, we have this portal that you can upload everything, and they're already making my job easier to work with them. They're leading me. They have an app to recommend or a strategy to recommend. The fact that the profit first kind of philosophy is so incorporated with a bank, right? Like Relay is like, they're leading us. Yeah, that's a really good point. It's leading versus you having to go to your bookkeeper telling them how to do their job. I don't want that bookkeeper. Then I should become a bookkeeper, and you don't want me becoming a bookkeeper. So I think in life, right, whether it's the next VA that you have, or you hire an attorney, make sure they're leading you, because we already have enough mental load. Quite honestly, we don't need to do everyone's job. That's not how we're going to become successful as an investor. We want people leading us. So I just want to say that, because something personally that I'm working through with some other professionals.
100%. I definitely agree with that. And also, as you scale, your needs will become different. And what might have been easy for you to keep up when you had like one property, when you have 10 properties, that's not easy anymore. And you don't have the time for the back and forth. You mentioned we use a portal for our clients, because everybody's busy. Everybody has like multiple email accounts and multiple places that they can be. So this is one place where all the questions go in both directions, where things can be attached using different softwares. And a lot of times we do get clients from bookkeepers that weren't bad bookkeepers. They're just like a one-person office, and they're just limited in what they're able to provide, what makes sense for them to provide to people. So
totally. I completely agree. I think we just need to continually keep an eye on everyone we're working with, right? Are they leading us? Are they ahead of us? Right? It's a good litmus test. With regards to, we have, Deborah, you're asking about a new CPA. We actually have Anderson advisors coming to InvestorCon. They're going to be there, and they have some, what I'm learning about them. I've really been very impressed with so far what I'm seeing. So I'm going to leave their information in there. They're going to be at, like I said, InvestorCon. And they've been super supportive of our community and really just are excited about it. So, and I've been impressed with what I've seen. So I'm going to throw her information in here, give her a shout out, because they're just really been pouring into our community. And I want to just do that real quick, because you're asking. I would love to encourage everyone too. And after I do that, Zoe, please put the link again for folks to, to get, connected to Relay. I really want to make sure you do that again.
Free money.
Yeah. I'm going to put a recommendation for accountant.
Cool. I'm adding that in. Perfect. And to echo what you two have both been saying, I think as a small business owner, you want to look for an advisor that will do a bit of that advisory as well. So like as a bookkeeper, not just doing the books, like if you see a problem and you have like a solution in mind, tell your business owner that if you're on the bookkeeping side. And as a business owner, like you're obviously not an expert at the books and the finances. So to actively ask your accountant and your bookkeeper these questions, see what their point of view is, I think is really important as well.
And as we end, I'm sorry, go Randy.
You want someone proactive as a bookkeeper. So you want someone who's going to bring the question to you, like, you know, I noticed your phone bill is 3 times as expensive this month as usual. Were you expecting that? Maybe you were, maybe you weren't. I'm just going to bring the questions to you. So you want somebody to be proactive, not wait until you bring the problem to them 6 months after the fact, like, oh, by the way. So we do always try to analyze and make
Yeah.
sure things are consistent to be a red flag if something might be potentially wrong.
And it's so important, right? Last thing, really quick, please put in the chat box one thing you learned, one action you're going to take. You never want to go to a webinar or anything you're spending your time. Time is literally the most valuable asset we have, really. It's more than money, honestly, because it's limited. We only have so many days on this earth. You know, money, I feel like, is unlimited. Time is not. So we take that seriously. If you're going to spend time with us, we want to make sure you learn something and you're going to literally do one thing as a result of this hour we just spent together on the 14th of March. So what's one thing you learned? One thing you're going to do. I'd love to see that, especially for the new folks. I don't remember all your names, but we hold that as a model. Every time we're on anything, we always ask that. What did you learn? What did you, what action you'll take? All right, Sandy, you didn't learn anything because you got here late, but that's okay. By the way, this recording and all of our webinars, all of our free content, our podcasts, we've done some phenomenal webinars with Zoe and Randy in the past too, are in our blog page, Just go to the realestateInvestHer.com/blog. So this should be up within a couple of days. It's evergreen. There's a great webinars there from so many different things, off-market deals, artificial intelligence, a lot of good stuff over there. So Nicole, the importance of classing out each property. Cool. Andrea, open my business banking account with Relay. Easy. All right. I love it. Good stuff. Providing the blogs. Good. I'm glad. Anyone else here? Find a professional familiar with real estate. Yes, please do that. Get a bookkeeper. Bonnie, stop doing it yourself. Bonnie, I want you to post in the Facebook community, Bonnie, when you have found a bookkeeper. You got a great recommendation here with Randy. But when you found someone, I want you to post it in the Facebook community. I was on this webinar. I made a commitment to find a bookkeeper, and I did. Because that means that it's moving the needle, and we take action when we move the needle. We're not just here because we have nothing else to do this afternoon. We're doing this so we move the needle on financial freedom. Very cool. All right, you got it, Bonnie. I'm going to keep an eye on that name. I'm writing it down. I want to see you do that. All right, you got
I'm
this,
going to look out
Bonnie.
for that post in the community.
Yes.
Make sure I like that too.
Zoe and Randy are both active in our Investor community. They will be at InvestorCon. So they are resources. That's the kinds of companies and folks we work with, because they're resources, not here just to sell you a bank account or this is about being a resource and helping you solve your problems. So thank you both for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us, Liz.
Appreciate your time so much. And I appreciate everyone being on here. Again, this will get uploaded within a couple of days, but do something with what you learned. That is the key. We'll see everyone soon.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Bye.